When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
Welcome back to I Want That Too, the podcast where Disney merch meets Disney history. I'm entertainment writer Jim Hill, and as always, I'm joined by the lovely Lauren Hersey. We are recording this on December 16th for the show that goes up on the 18th. Is that correct? So 1 week out from Christmas.
Holy cannoli, Batman.
There we go.
I just had my stomach just sunk a little bit, being a mom of three. Oh, I'm going to be the magic maker.
Oh, no, you've done great. All right. I'm the one who literally, it's I have to get something for Nancy. I should probably get started on that.
I mean, wasn't her big Hallmark trip, couldn't that count? I mean, she just had two back to back.
I get that, but you can't put a trip under the tree. So you got to find things. All right. I'm looking for things. And speaking of things, just to sort of follow up on some of the stuff I mentioned on recent I Want That Twos. For example, Lauren, on the show, I've acknowledged that I'm a whiny baby man, right?
And we love you anyways.
Okay. Well, it turns out there are other people out in the world who want to placate the whiny baby man. Remember how I mentioned how I really wanted a plush, the Nog, the seal pup plush that was given to
two episodes ago.
2 episodes ago.
Prep and Landing Snowball Protocol for any of those who are
there
not
we
caught
go.
up.
And just today in the mail, I got a card. That's the Roy E. Disney building feature animation. A lovely box showed up at the house with a note which says, "Dear Jim, I heard you were looking for this. Thanks for your amazing podcast, especially all things Disney and Universal. I hope you have a very happy holiday." And startlingly, finally start seeing Disney feature animation films in theaters in the new year. So, yeah, it's a polite way of saying I really need to get around to that. But again, I got a Nog. And by the way, I watched this special again over when Nancy and I were down in New Jersey for Christmas Con. And I have to say, I liked it better the second time. I mean, it still not, as good as the original Prep and Landing, but it's good. Also, the other thing, and I know we talked about this last week, Lauren, about, going to Target.
Are we talking about cars? Do you have an update?
We're talking about cars. Okay, I have an update, and I am I'm not only a whiny baby man, I'm weak, all right, because I went back, all right, and there he is. There's Doc Hudson, all decked out for the holidays. I actually, in fact, you'll love this. I went back to the store, and I'm standing there in front of the shelves, and it turns out I was too late. They had all been picked over. In fact, if I wanted 35 Sallys with her, earmuffs on, I could have them. So I'm saying "Oh, Jim, you blew it. You should have moved quickly." And I go to leave, and I look, and there's a pallet next to me. That they've stopped loading the shelf, and I look, and it's that says Cars Holiday. And the box was partially open anyway. So I opened it, and all 7 of them were sitting in there, so it was pick them. But then I looked, and it's Santa's sleigh is pulled by 8 tiny little reindeer. And so in this case, you really need 8 of the reindeer snowmobiles. And so sadly, I've only to date been able to get 4 of the rainbow snowmobiles, but this is my project for the coming year to get the other snow, but then at the same time, Lauren, I was telling Nancy in the car this on the way home today, I may have made a mistake. Because I then began Googling these Cars holiday figures from 2001, and it turns out, well, no. There was a book published in 2009 called Mater Saves Christmas. And it turns out there were earlier Christmas, Christmas figures for Radiator Springs. And, just looking at those and realizing, oh, now I got to buy those. And
this is why we have a merch show.
Yes, but it's like $60 for that set. And then, the kicker, and there's only one of these available so far, but it turns out there is a Santa car with Mater having antlers, because again, it's Mater as a reindeer who saves Christmas. And that set right now, the only one I can find online, $200.
Ooh.
So
you can't look during Christmas though. Go look in like the summertime.
There we go. So it's so
on a
interesting
budget,
to say that.
Remember, like we do things the smart way.
There we go. So that's the very thing I said to Nancy. This just became a year-long project. It's just like, all right, turn away, don't look, and when the prices go down, grab it. So, but anyway, I wanted to do the whiny baby man update. And again, thank you so much. Nog is so cute. So, and he will go upstairs with the rest of the Prep and Landing plush, which we will bring out for the holidays.
Well, thank you for the updates. Appreciate that.
Okay.
But your whiny baby man tirade may continue because we have a lot to cover on today's show, and I think you and our listeners might have some feelings on what we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about how Disney is testing new tech to hopefully help finding merch in the parks easier. We're going to talk about the $1 billion investment that Disney just made in AI, artificial intelligence. And we're going to look at dynamic pricing, since that is in the mainstream with the Instacart of it all. But before we get to all of that, let's thank our sponsor.
And this episode of I Want That Too is brought to you by our friends at UnlockMagic.com, the same trusted team behind DVC Rental Store and the DVC Resale Market. And if you're planning a Disney trip, they've got the best deals on Walt Disney World tickets. So visit UnlockMagic.com to grab the best ticket deals and make your next Disney trip just a little bit more magical. So I want to hear more about this find merchandise tool, because again, I got 4 more little reindeer snowmobiles to find, and I just that could be very helpful.
Well, maybe if you're at the parks at Disneyland, it could be. All right, so here's the deal. Disney is testing a new feature in the My Disney Experience app. Like we said, to help you find merchandise easier. So the feature is called, find merchandise. How much easier could you make it? Yeah, and so it's cool because
cut to the point.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's very, very creative. But you know what? Sometimes, like even in the My Disney Experience app, like they'll have like your tip board and stuff, and I'm like, just tell me what it is. Like I don't need all of the acronyms or anything. So anyway. It's in the testing phase, but so not everybody has it right now. But from what I've read, you scroll kind of down to the middle, like by pass holder buzz, and you'll see the find merchandise, and then you can click try it out. So when you click try it out, then the user can search for like a specific product, can look at top products or like things that are trending, or you can type in like a category. Like right now, you might want like Christmas popcorn buckets or whatever. And so in Florida, it also is tracking availability at World of Disney, at Disney Springs, which I think is awesome. Do you remember, like, this is not new. Do you remember, gosh, could it be 10 years at this point that Disney World had something similar? Do you remember that?
I don't. But again, that the irony of, me co-hosting a merch podcast with you is I'm a terrible shopper. I mean, just the notion of like, yeah, I'll go into the Emporium and I'll walk around, but it's just sort of like, ooh, shopping. But geez, they really had something similar to this 10 years ago?
Yeah, it was it was in conjunction with the Shop Disney, and it was like if you were in the parks, you could do, I remember looking for the rose gold mini ears on it and landing at Animal Kingdom. And then it went away because I think that they were having issues keeping track of the inventory that was in stock.
Oh, yes. Now
and people were getting really
over
mad.
Marblehead.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I remember that. In fact, I think I told you it was Drew Taylor who hacked the system.
Yes.
In fact, we were there at the a media event for Disney Home Entertainment. I guess there was a brand new version of Lion King coming out on Blu-ray or something like that, and the Pandas movie that Disney did. And Drew's lovely bride Katie wanted again a set of rose gold ears. And what Drew did is he got a hold of a master list of the direct phone numbers to all the shops on Disney property. And he just proceeded to work down the list. And I want to say it might have been Animal Kingdom Lodge, where, he called over there and said, "Do you have rose gold ears?" And the woman said, "Let me check." I walked to the shelf. "Yep, got 2. So put them behind the counter, again, but that was old school. I mean, literally, he had a paper list and was just calling these numbers over and over again. But this was an actual physical piece of technology that did this?
Yeah, 100%. And I remember it clearly, and I was really disappointed when it went away because think about just Florida, for instance, how many gift shops are in each one of the parks, and then think about all of the resorts, and then you have Disney Springs. Just the last time we were there, we were looking for Haunted Mansion ears, and we were able to actually find them at Hollywood Studios, surprisingly enough.
At Hollywood Studios?
Yeah,
really?
But it was literally just going in and out of every store. So, I don't know. I feel like this can improve Disney selling more merch, right? If I could just find the thing that I'm looking for and go right there versus going in and out and wasting time, I could be buying other things.
Okay, but now forgive me for sort of floating this scenario, but think about it. How many times have you been in a retail situation, you see something, you pick it up, you maybe even go as far as to put it in your cart, and then you continue to shop. And then at the end of the transaction, just before you get to the counter, you think, I really don't need this. I mean, it's lovely, but I'm getting this other thing instead. And you put it down at some random point in the store
right.
Because someone later, some employee will find it and put it back where it belongs. All right, now multiply that by someplace like the Emporium. And how maddening would it be to go into the Emporium with this app and be told, "Oh, the Haunted Mansion ears are here. They definitely have them in stock." And you go to the place that they should be and they're not there. And that's because they're somewhere else in the store because some other guest put them down and decided not to buy them. I mean, the only way I see this potentially working as effectively as it should is, what are those things? Air tags? The Apple things that you can put.
Oh, yeah.
You can put in your suitcase or that sort of thing so you know where it is at the airport. That's the only way I see this working. That everything has an air tag on it. It's like, well, yes, it is in the store, and I know it's a coffee mug, but it seems to be over in the T-shirts. Hang on, let's go there.
Yeah, I mean, they do that in costuming. They have the RFID tags or whatever to know
right.
where the...
That's
I
right.
mean, so you never know. But I think, they're always testing different things, but it would not be surprising to me if this was back to everybody in 26.
Okay. No, again, there's a part of me that really kind of intrigued by this, and I'd love to see it at rollout. And again, like I said, I still need to find 4 little reindeer snowmobiles. All right. Anyway, what else do we have on in the news this week for I Want That Too, Lauren?
All right. So now we're going to talk about Disney's recent investment into OpenAI that was, coming in at the tune of $1 billion. Did you see this?
I did. And in fact, Len and I talked a little bit about it, and I've since chatted with Mr. Schul, but I'd love to get your take on it. So let's start with the obvious. Disney's paying $1 billion. What are they actually paying for?
Yeah, so this is an equity investment in OpenAI, and from what I understand, it is the first big studio partnership that is directly with OpenAI. And so just to give you like a little bit of, side tea here, I am extremely interested in staying up to date with all things AI. So I know, enough about it, probably, more than the next guy, but certainly not at any type of, experience guru level, right? So I read this and I am like thinking of every possible avenue that is outside of what their press release says. So what they're doing right now is they are licensing 200 plus characters to be used in Sora 2, and ChatGPT image creation. So if you're not familiar with Sora 2, Sora 1 was released in September of this year, and it's essentially a prompt-based AI video creation tool. And now Sora 2 is, the enhanced version, but it is also like a social media channel. So it has an algorithm similar to TikTok, and I could go in there and I could say, make me or create a video of me, because when you log into Sora 2, it takes your picture and you can use other people's likeness. So I want a picture of me I want a video of me in the garden, gardening with Minnie Mouse. And then it's going to create that video and you're going to post it and people will be able to comment on that just as if it was a different, any other social media channel. It's wild. I actually had to get out of the platform because when I signed up, it was like, this one's following. So not 100% there yet. And then within ChatGPT, with the image creation tool, prompt-based image creation, you will now be able to use those animated characters in the images for personal use. Obviously, still have licensing for anything that would be commercial. But I think there's several different plays happening here. Bob Iger has always kind of been a trailblazer, I think, in emerging technologies. And, he's made some really good decisions and, some that didn't work out. But it's, an investment. So this is a 3-year deal. They're thinking that you'll be able to use some of these characters beginning in 2026. They're still firming up the logistics, obviously, board approval, all of that. But what I think is interesting is with the videos that are being created using OpenAI Sora, there's going to be kind of an integration that allows that content to populate on Disney Plus to see if consumers are interested in watching AI created content. So it could be another content stream for them.
Okay.
Thoughts on that?
Well, it's interesting. Literally within the last 24 hours, I saw a video that was created using technology similar to this, and Lauren, it was literally of Buzz and Woody and Jesse, at the top of the World Trade Center, about to, have breakfast. They were eating donuts, and they looked over their shoulder, and you saw the plane getting ready to fly into the tower. And it was one of these things where it's like, this is in such poor taste that and it dishonors the people who, of course, died in the World Trade Center disaster. And these are yes, I know Woody, Buzz, and Jesse are owned by Disney and Pixar, and they're corporate IP, but at the same time, they are characters that little kids love, and that makes them innocent and special. And it was just the notion that some adult sat down and I'm going to do this, and that's just sort of brings me around to the whole 200 characters that people through, these Sora 1 and Sora 2, it can do things with. And my question is, okay, who's curating these things at Disney? And when they actually do get the chance to populate over on Disney Plus. Yeah, who's making the calls there? Because, for example, I love the new Mickey Mouse cartoons. I want to say Paul Felix did them, because they're edgy, because they're funny. But, there's a definite line between edgy and offensive, and having, Buzz and Woody and Jesse die at the top of the World Trade Center while eating donuts. That's kind of up on my list there. So,
yeah, well, I think this is the reason that Disney is getting into the game when they are, so that they're putting some guardrails up on how the characters are going to be used, how they look, what type of content they can appear in. I mean, if you're familiar with TikTok, there's a lot of built-in securities, and that was like the biggest innovation with Sora 2 is to avoid some of this stuff from being created. And I do have to say, I feel like this is really important that this does not include any audio. This doesn't include any human likeness. So no voices, you're not going to see the Jonas Brothers, they have a Christmas movie or whatever.
They do.
Included in this, or like Scarlett Johansson, or, these are just animated characters. So I'll be interested to see, and I know that they're writing a lot of protections into this agreement, and to me, I think that it's a smart move. This is the future, but we have to. I mean, we just have to be safe about it, and I think that's what they're trying to do is protect their IP.
Okay, then I can get behind that. Now, we now move from talking about the future to something that's going on right now. And this involves dynamic pricing, and this came kind of in the forefront in the news lately because of what's happening with Instacart. Do you want to explain that?
Yeah, so I think we talk about Instacart before we go into, how does this affect Disney? But the news this week is that Instacart is now using AI pricing tools, which is causing the same grocery items to show up at different prices for different customers at the same time. So some customers were reporting as much as a 20 to 23% increase on identical products. So as you can imagine, people have thoughts. And, Instacart is defending it and saying, it's helping them with supply and demand, and it's like an airline and this and that. But it feels like their price gouging is how people could take it away to say, okay, well, you're willing to spend $4 on eggs, and so I'm going to charge you $4, where somebody over here, their price threshold is, $1.29. Like, that doesn't seem fair, does it?
It doesn't. But, and the reason we're bringing this up on this podcast, folks, is because, well, Disney's eyeballing the same thing too, right?
Yeah, actually, it's kind of crazy. I just saw Drew Taylor, so your co-host on the Fine Tuning podcast, just had an article out about it, I think today or yesterday. So it sounds like dynamic pricing is coming to the domestic parks in 2026. That was, confirmed by Disney's CFO. But dynamic pricing is, well, I guess let's start with what is dynamic pricing if you're not familiar. So right now, we have a little bit of it, kind of. You have the Disney calendar, and you're going to have, there's 6 tiers. So just say like red is going to be your highest price that you're going to pay, and it's based on, the seasonality, supply and demand, and then green is the lowest price that you're going to pay. So dynamic pricing means that it is not a fixed price. And so what they're looking at doing is the price of your park tickets could change. It could be, one thing today and then an hour later be something different based on supply and demand. And the reason that they're doing this, they say, is to manage the crowd situation and heavily improved guest experience. So like smoothing out attendance. So, depending on when you're going, it's more enjoyable. Obviously, they want to take advantage of getting as much revenue as possible for high demand periods. And like they can increase or decrease that thresholds depending on their current, attendance projections. And I think what they're really trying to do is encourage earlier booking. So the earlier you book, the less like last minute rushes that they're going to see, which will help with even staffing. That's what I thinking.
And in fact, it's so interesting that you mentioned that, because whenever I have talked with, management folks at the parks, that's the very issue they talk about, the notion that it's a bad guest experience when, for example, you staff the park assuming that, okay, just 30,000 people are going to show up today, and then 45,000 show up. And it means longer lines for food. It means longer lines for merch. It means longer lines to get in attractions. And, and people go home and talk about the bad experience they had at Disney. Whereas something like this, where, 6 or 8 months out, because people have booked vacation packages, that sort of thing. It's like, okay, so, a Wednesday in April at the Magic Kingdom, we know now, that 47,000 people at least are going to be here. And, so, we can staff accordingly. So I get it from that point of view. And I also, that's the other thing that, people don't like to talk about. But, the most important word in the term show business is business. Right. And Disney is a publicly held, company with shareholders and investors, and they want a return on their investment. They want to see the Disney stock price high. So, if you're looking at it from that side of the fence, it's like, all right, I get this. But, on the other hand, those of us who, maybe don't want to plan their Disney World trip 8 months in advance, who, want to, I want to go to the park this weekend. And it's like, oh, good. Will you be surrendering the kidney, Mr. Hill, or an arm or a leg?
Yeah, but I mean, I think it like looking from a guest perspective, like I think that it is going to be harder for people to budget. Like, even if they are planning in advance, just because you're planning in advance doesn't mean you're like buying your tickets. So if the prices are, a dramatic swing and you only have like fixed weeks that you can go, like this could really, hurt the consumer.
You're not wrong.
I mean, like, I
You're
think
not
that
wrong.
there are pros and cons. Like if your dates are flexible, you could take advantage of maybe scoring some lower ticket prices. And I mean, it's so hard right now to even know with like crowds. I mean, the way that like, I don't know, this is kind of like a little hack on my end is I think you can tell their crowd projections by the price of their, the lightning lanes.
Yes.
Because that is already dynamic. Like you can tell it could be $20 one day and $35 the next. So if you're looking ahead and you want to know what park is going to be busy if you don't have touring plans, which we do. Thanks, Len. But that's just some way to do it. But this is not Disney experimenting. Like this is already being used in Paris, right?
It is. And, the very fact they're bringing it stateside. Again, just my one note here is that, look, there is already a narrative out there right now that, going to Disney World is very expensive. And, all it takes is another couple of stories like this for that to go from Disney World is very expensive to Disney World is too expensive. And next time the family and I are going down the street to Universal. I think that's the thing. Disney has to be cautious here. I mean, don't get me wrong. You and I both know because we were at the D23 Expo, last year, and that they the $60 billion they're spending on Piston Peak and Villains Land and the Encanto thing that's being, I mean, you can see the money that's being spent. The problem is, I don't know as I necessarily want to pay now, for, rides and shows and attractions I'm not going to get to experience till 5 and 6 years from now. And Lord knows what it'll cost to get into a Disney park then. It concerns me that Disney isn't necessarily reading the room, especially today when think about it. You watch the nightly news, and how many times does affordability come up these days?
Gosh, yeah.
Wonderful if you're a shareholder. Maybe not so great if you're somebody who's planning a Disney World vacation. And I wish that Disney would occasionally, take in the room first, okay? Before, this will be great for the share price. And say, hey, where'd everybody go?
But I think that I'm hoping that Disney will be more transparent and it will be more controlled than what we're seeing with Instacart. So hope we will wait and we'll see. And my hope is that also that, if guests can be flexible with their dates, and it's kind of that thing you mentioned, you're walking around the Emporium and you put something in your cart, like maybe if you can be decisive, maybe you will get a better deal on your Disney vacation. That is my glass half full look at dynamic pricing. And I mean, it's the same thing that we're used to doing with an airline, right? Like you
No.
Yeah, so like this is not a new concept.
No, Nancy, Nancy and I do this all the time. It's just the effect of, well, if you fly on Tuesday at this point, you fly on Wednesday at this point, price point. So, no, I get it. It's just, but, that's just my one note. There's already a narrative out there that Disney is expensive, and it's just that they need to be careful right now about this.
Yes. Okay, but on to something that's a little happier. Disney sing-alongs. I didn't even mention it at the top of the show, but it actually Ashley actually sent me a little video, which kind of got me thinking about like the Disney sing-alongs for the holidays. And Eric and I were watching some on YouTube, and you were asking about like, what should we talk about? And I'm like, let's talk about sing-alongs. And I have to like give credit where credit is due. My husband is amazing at thinking of awesome things that Jim can tell us stories about. Hero and I want that too. So when we get back from the break, we're taking a deep dive into Disney sing-alongs, right?
That we are. All right. But first, folks, there's this.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay, our holiday you're saving.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. This season, enjoy spacious, comfortable rooms and friendly service when you book with Hilton instead. Hilton for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. You're ready to move your business forward, but first, you need to find the right team. Start your search with Indeed-sponsored jobs. It can help you reach qualified candidates fast, ensuring your listing is the first one they see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. See the results for yourself. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
In Walmart Sue Newville, time was ticking away. Only a few nights left till the big holiday. But last-minute gifters had no need to worry. Walmart Express Delivery got their gifts in a hurry. From Nintendo to Nespresso and Lego flowers, they could check off their lists in as fast as an hour. All of Who Newville, East, West, South, and North could order gifts up until 5 p.m. on December 24th. So this holiday, just do as the Who's do. With gift delivery this fast, they all gasped. From Walmart, who knew? Subject to availability, terms and fees apply.
And we're back. And as Lauren was mentioning just before the break, the Hershey's, we're getting ready for the holidays. And you had a Christmas-themed sing-along video playing in the background there at the house. And do you remember the title of the video, Lauren? Was it perhaps The Very Merry Christmas Songs?
That's ringing a bell, Jim. It's ringing a bell.
Okay, that came out in October of '88, but there was also another one, The 12 Days of Christmas, that hit store shelves some 5 years later, December of '93, and I'm hoping that it's the one from 1980, because that was actually the fifth in the series, the series from Disney Home Entertainment, and it's kind of a unique one, not just because of the way it was assembled, but rather what it contains, because it has a piece of animation about a certain reindeer that wasn't done by Disney Studios, but rather by the man who was once Walt's arch rival when it came to the world of animation, Max Fleischer. And again, this is the guy who did the Out of the Inkwell shorts. This is the father of Betty Boop, and the guy who did all those terrific early Popeye shorts. But before we get to that story, we first have to discuss how the sing-along series came to be, which Lauren dates back to the early 1980s, when the mouse was just getting into the video business. And to be blunt here, Lauren, Disney just wasn't selling a lot of the early titles. And again, this is going to sound very familiar to someone who was listening to the first half of the show, because they were pricing them too high. All right. Case in point, Dumbo. When the studio first sent that out into theaters, that was October of 1941. On the other hand, when Walt Disney Home Video first made Dumbo available for home purchase in July of 1982, Lauren, they were asking animation enthusiasts to pony up $84.95.
What?
Now, because I know you'd ask this question, I went to the inflation calculator. $84.95 in 2025 money is $282.99.
That is insanity, by the way.
It is, especially for a movie that's only an hour and 4 minutes long. Now, Disney does the same thing in November of 1982. They make Disney's animated version of Alice in Wonderland, the one that came out in the theaters July of 51. That's also available for home purchase again for $84.95. And now the executives at Consumer Products are sitting in the office is like, hey, we're not moving a lot of these. What's going on? And, so they start asking themselves some hard questions like, could it be that, well, we did show Dumbo and Alice in Wonderland for free on the Sunday night Wonderful World of Disney TV show on NBC. Maybe
and you remember
that's
you just dubbed them onto your VHS tape back in the day.
Well, there we go. But at the same time, there was this this sort of cold sweat moment. Are we being too nakedly greedy, and just, charging too much for the home video versions of these movies? And again, here's the thing, thinking that it might be the latter rather than the former, Disney did try lowering the price point on the home video versions of its animated films a little. Just to see if it would make a difference with the consumer. And Lauren, when I say a little, I mean minuscule. Okay, again, remember, Dumbo, Alice in Wonderland, when they come on the market in 82, $84.95. All right, so now it's December of 1984, and Disney's making its animated version of Robin Hood available on VHS. And again, that first came out December of 73. This time around, though, we're not going to make you pay $84.95. We're going to make you pay $79.95. $5 less.
That's like a slap in the face.
Well, this is what happened. And so Disney does not move a lot of copies of Robin Hood during the 84 holiday season. And this problem persists into summer of 85, which is when Disney Home Video actually puts one of the studio's true classics, Pinocchio, out there for home purchase. And again, the sales numbers are nowhere near where Mouse House executives are hoping. And again, largely because Pinocchio is selling for $79.95 a copy, which is why holiday season 1985, Walt Disney Home Video makes a big roll of the dice. They're like, as an experiment, for a limited time only, they reduce the price of all of the animated features that Walt Disney Home Video currently has for sale. They chop $50 off of the price. So if you wanted to take home your very own copy of Dumbo or Alice in Wonderland or Robin Hood or Pinocchio, all you had to do was pony up $29.95. And just to be clear, $29.95, that for each, that's you didn't pay $29.85 and got all four of those. But Lauren, at this new lower price point, all of these titles fly off the shelf. During the 85 holiday season. More to the point, consumers immediately reach out to Disney Home Video and say, my kids love these tapes. What else you got? And so Disney immediately starts planning for the 1986 holiday season. This is when Sleeping Beauty is going to be released. And again, they're going into it like, okay, this one, right off the bat, we do it for $29.95. But the interesting thing, Lauren, is this is Disney, and they begin to explore another idea, which is to create an even lower price title that would serve, well, as kind of an appetizer for folks who hadn't yet bought a VCR. Because remember, back then, buying a VCR was like, well, do I want a car or do I want a VCR? They were pricey. And just the notion was, well, let's make this easier. And so, the folks at Walt Disney Home Video were like, what if we create a VHS tape that's basically a highlight reel for Disney Studios? On this tape, we'll show some of the very best songs from people's favorite Disney films. And here's the kicker. We'll only charge $12.99 for this thing. And, what the thinking was that people would buy this teaser tape for their kids. And then after the kids had played the same tape over and over and over again, these parents would then spring for copies of other Disney VHSs for $29.99 just so that, just so their kids would have something different to watch, and that the parents wouldn't have to listen to the same selection of songs being played over and over and over again. And Lauren, I swear to God, this part of this story is true. Because in the 90s, I actually got to interview an executive at Walt Disney Home Video about the early days of that arm at Disney, and he talked about this meeting, the fateful meeting where the Disney sing-along videos were born. And evidently at this meeting, another executive who he refused to name because they thought, the guy raises his hand and says, no, that's not nearly annoying enough. If we're really going to compel parents to buy other Disney VHS tops, what we should do? We should make this a sing-along. That way, it's not just that the parents have to listen to the same Disney songs over and over and over again. They have to listen to their kids sing the same Disney songs over and over again. It's like, that'll drive them nuts.
Oh, that's perfect. That's brilliant.
Well, it was. And so the first sing-along titled Zippity Doo-Dah arrived in the marketplace October of 1986. By the way, that's a month ahead of when Sleeping Beauty goes on sale. And it had a broad selection of songs. It had Mickey Mouse March from the Mickey Mouse TV series, and of course, Zippity Doo-Dah from Song of the South. They had songs from Peter Pan. They had It's a Small World from the Disney theme park attraction, Bippity Boppity Boo, the Casey Jr. song from Dumbo, and the Ballad of David Crockett. You get the idea. But what was so funny about this, Lauren, is, first of all, the tape is only 30 minutes long. And more to the point, if you already owned VHS copies of Dumbo, Alice in Wonderland, Pinocchio, and you then bought the first sing-along song, you just paid for songs you already own. All right, just sort of like, but never mind. But Zippity Doo-Dah sells so well in the fall of '86 that Walt Disney Home Video rushes 2 new titles in their now hit sing-along series to market the following year. There's Hi-Ho, which comes out in May of '87, and then The Bare Necessities comes out in October of that same year, '87. Those sell equally well. So we get 2 more sing-alongs. In '88, we get You Can Fly, which arrives in February of '88. And then there was the very same tape that Lauren, Eric, Hunter, Lanny, and Miles seem to have enjoyed in the Hersey household earlier this month. Again, that's Very Merry Christmas Songs, which became available for purchase October 4th, 1988. Now, we will get to why this particular VHS, the 5th in the sing-along series, became such a holiday classic in a moment, and more importantly, how that piece of Max Fleischer animation wound up in a Walt Disney Home Video release. But first, this.
Here's my 30-second story with Guinness. As soon as my sister and I get home for the holidays, we don't even unpack. We head straight to our pub. The bartender already knows our order, Guinness and fries. We laugh all night, catch up with old friends, and walk home with faces sore from smiling. It's one of my favorite nights of the year. That was my 30-second story with Guinness.
Guinness Draft Stout. Please enjoy responsibly. Imported by Diageo Beer Company, USA, New York, New York.
Sparkle throughout the night with Born in Roma fragrances by Valentino Beauty. Each bottle holds the energy of Rome after dark. Donna Born in Roma blends luxurious jasmine with rich, creamy vanilla, creating a sensual and vibrant signature scent. Uomo Born in Roma fuses aromatic sage and smoked vetiver, leaving a lasting impression that lingers well into the early hours. Shop Born in Roma by Valentino Beauty now at Ulta.
Kraft mac and cheese is the best thing ever. It's even better than pop music. You look just as natural enjoying us at age 13 as you do 55. Kraft mac and cheese. Best thing ever.
And we're back. All right, Lauren, it's January of 1988. And at a year in review meeting in the Team Disney building in Burbank, the head of Walt Disney Home Video is telling Michael Eisner how well that division's most recent releases have done over the 87 holiday shopping season. And by the way, Lauren, this is the year that Lady and the Tramp, which was released at theaters originally back in June of '55, 1 month before Disneyland opened. This is when that animated film became available for home purchase, again for $29.95, and $3.2 1.2 million copies were sold in the closing months of 1987. That, by the way, Lauren, that translates into $90 million going into Mickey's back pocket. Yeah. So now Michael Eisner, the then head of the Walt Disney Company, is said to be, not just impressed by that, but equally impressed by the number of units of the sing-along series that have been sold. And so, but sitting there, at the table, Michael is a brainstorm. He then turns to the head of home video and goes, you know what we should do for the 88 holiday season? How about a Christmas version of a sing-along tape? But let's load that thing up with holiday songs and then put clips of old Disney movies with snow and Santa and toys and under the music. I bet you guys would sell a ton of those VHS tapes if we had a title like that out for the holiday season in 88. And so, literally, these are the marching orders that the head of Disney Home Video has been given. So he goes back to his office and contacts Harry Aarons and Phil Savnik. These are the producers of the previous editions of the Disney Sing-Along. And he tells Aarons and Savnik, look, Eisner, this is what Eisner told me, for the 88 holiday season, we need a Christmas sing-along. But here's the thing, folks. I kind of have to explain how the retail world worked, at least back in 88. Holiday shopping season back then actually started the first week of October. That's when the first wave of toys for that year would hit store shelves. And then 6 weeks later, just a week before Thanksgiving, that's when the second wave of toys would hit. So if you really wanted your product that you were bringing to the marketplace to have the largest possible opportunity to be purchased by consumers during the holiday season, and again, we're talking the late 80s here, it really had to be on store shelves by October 1st. And then when you factor in that what it takes to first manufacture the item and then ship it from the manufacturer to the store, okay, let's subtract 2 months, another 2 months from our projected delivery timeline. So, Lauren, if Walt Disney Home Video wanted to have a holiday-themed Disney sing-along ready to go on shelves for October 1st, 1988, this thing had to be edited and assembled and then ready to send off to the manufacturers no later than August 1st of that same year, so 1988. So now, picture this. It's late January, early February, which is when Harry Aarons and Phil Savnik are told, you got 6 months, go. And so what do they do? First phone call they make is to Dave Smith, who at that time is the chief archivist of the Walt Disney Company. And Aarons and Savnik then say to Smith, we need a list of every Disney cartoon and animated feature that featured Santa and Christmas. Also, while you're at it, we need a list of any animated films or shorts that featured ice, snow, horse-drawn sleighs, sledding, ice skating, any other winter-related activities. All right, and so Dave gets Harry and Phil this list, and then Aarons and Savnik, they reach out to the ARL, which is Disney's Animation Research Library. And the ARL arranges to have all of this footage that Harry and Phil have requested. They screened it for them, and they sit there with clipboard. I mean, back in the day, paper and pens, and write down. All right, we're going to use that scene. We're going to use this scene. And they physically begin to build the show. And it's Lauren. It's a crazy collection of material. It goes all the way back to September of 1935. That's when the Mickey Mouse short On Ice first went out into theater. And by the way, the most recent footage that they included in the sing-along was pulled from Mickey's Christmas Carol, which at this point, it's just been 5 years since that featurette originally played in theaters in December of 83. Now, Laura, the interesting thing here is that, now Harry and Phil, they're looking for happy scenes involving winter and snow. So, they don't use that scene from Bambi. Went out in theaters August of 42, where, Bambi and his mom wander out into that snowy field, and only to have mom shot by hunters off screen. They're looking for happy. So from that same movie, remember there's that scene where Thumper is takes Bambi out on the ice and teaches him to ice skate. It's just like, okay, not the mama being shot footage, but the rabbit teaching the dude to skate. Put that in the pile. And speaking of deer, let's now get to that animated version of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which, again, is featured on Very Merry Christmas Songs, and again, directed by Max Fleischer. And so how did this happen? Well, all right. It's important to remember here, folks, that back in January of 1942, Max lost control of the animation studio that he and his brother, Dave, had built up over the past 20 years. In fact, their first Out of the Inkwell short debuted in theaters back in 1921. Paramount subsequently takes control of the entire operation, changes the name of the outfit from Fleischer Studios to Famous Studios, and Max, in the middle of World War II, is now a man in need of a job. And he tries to set up his own new animation studio, looking to do what Walt Disney did during the war years, which was create training films for the military. But when that idea doesn't pan out, Max eventually lands a job with the Jam Handy organization, which is an animation studio based in Detroit, Michigan, that largely made industrial films. But the lucky part of this is that Max now is in the right place at the right time when the opportunity comes along to make the original animated version of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Now, Lauren, I know that all of our I Want That Too listeners are familiar with the Rankin Bass stop-motion version of Rudolph, the one that debuted on NBC back in December of '64. But this Fleischer version we're talking about, it's hand-drawn, and it was produced back in early '48. And what's fascinating about this is the only place you could originally see this, Lauren, is if you went to a Montgomery Ward store and you then stood in line to go see Santa Claus. This is what they showed you while you were waiting in line. And the even weirder bend on this story, Lauren, this hand-drawn version of Rudolph, it actually predates the Gene Autry song, the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer song that you hear by a full year. Autry doesn't perform the song for the first time till September of '49, and then 3 months later, it's the number one song in the country. But again, hand-drawn animated thing, '48, song comes out in '49. And anyway, by the time Ahrens and Savnik are putting together their holiday edition of this Disney sing-along, and again, this is late spring, early summer of '88, the Fleischer hand-drawn Rudolph from '48 has long since been thrown into eclipse by the Rankin Bass thing. And here's the thing, that the guys at Disney, because so few people knew about this, they were able to reach out to Montgomery Ward and negotiate a deal that for like pennies on the dollar.
No way.
They could include this thing in, and by the way, if you want to see an absolute pristine copy of this thing, go over to YouTube, folks, type in Max Fleischer, Rudolph, and you'll actually get to see the original credits, from what, how it aired inside of a Montgomery Ward store. And by the way, it looks so much better in the restored print on YouTube than it does on the version with the Very Merry Christmas Song. I mean, it looks like it's been sitting under somebody's bed for the past 40 years. It's bleached out. It's worn and scratched. It doesn't look good at all. But anyway, back now to the sing-along version of Disney's Very Merry Christmas, which again hit store shelves October 6, 1988. And Lauren, not only one of the best-selling VHSs of that year, but it then goes on to become a genuine holiday classic. And it's a tape that people now physically pull out every year and then play on that one remaining VHS player in the house while they're decorating the tree.
Or watch it on YouTube. Where, by the way, you can find it today. Now, it's very much a snapshot of what
the Disney company was in the late 1980s. And let's be honest, if they made the same tape today, it would be loaded with wonderful, pristine images from Prep and Landing, or both of the Frozen movies, or even that Beauty and the Beast, the Enchanted Christmas thing. But anyway, if you want to do what Lainey, Hunter, and Miles did, as Lauren just suggested, go to YouTube, chase this thing down, and just leave it on the background as you do your holiday stuff. It's wonderful classic music and great visuals from all sorts of Disney films. And as we close out today's feature, I want to sort of duplicate what Ahrens and Savnik did at the very end of Disney's Very Merry Christmas Songs. They made sure that the credits for this thing included this placard that this Walt Disney home video release is the result of the talents of many creative people at Walt Disney Studios, and the contribution of the animation staff is particularly appreciated. And that is just as true today, Lauren, as it was back in '88. And the contributions of the very talented animation staff at Disney Studios is very, very much appreciated. So thanks to Lauren for suggesting the story. Turns out there was quite a bit of meat on the sing-along bone there.
Heck yeah. But I think on that note, we should close up shop for today, Jim.
I can get behind that. And wow, this time next week, Christmas Eve, is that when we're doing the show? All right. Well, by the way, folks, if you want to keep up with everything that's happening across the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network, follow us on social, and don't forget to check out our Patreon for bonus shows and early access.
Yes, and we just got a really cool bonus show that Eric and I did with Jim about his time at Epic. So make sure you check it out. And if you have questions or ideas for future episodes, we love to hear from you. Shoot us a message at jim@jimhillmedia.com, and I can be found at lauren@laurenhersey.com, or, DM us, shoot us an email, however you want to reach out. You know where to find us.
If you like the show, leave us a quick rating or review. It helps other Disney fans find. I want that too.
Yep, and that does it for today's show. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on I Want That Too.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here, wishing you a very happy half-off holiday, because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.